I just watched Fantasy Island last night. This film came out this year's Valentine's Day. I was supposed to watch it initially in the cinema, but it didn't happen. One thing led to another. I didn't get to see it. And you know what? I'm glad that I didn't get to see this one in the cinema. The movie follows a bunch of guests on Fantasy Island where each guest gets to live out their individual fantasy, whether it be revenge on a bully from their childhood or a past regret such as turning down a proposal and always wondering what kind of life you sacrificed with your true love. The movie starts off okay, it has potential, but as soon as the fantasies begin, it really starts to go downhill. And I'm not going to waste a lot of time reviewing this movie because this is a horrible movie and it's one of the worst movies I have ever seen. It looks nice, it's shot very well. The dialogue is some of the worst dialogue and the writing is some of the worst writing I have ever witnessed in a film. I do not know how this movie survived the creative process and actually became what it is. As these fantasies are lived out between each guest individually, they start to intertwine and it kind of becomes one big fantasy. And the question is, whose fantasy are they truly in? And that's where the movie really gets horrible, terrible, unbearable, almost unwatchable. You could watch this as a background movie and really not waste your time paying attention to it, having a couple beers or whatever, and if you're playing a video game, you can definitely do that, but I would not waste 90 minutes of your time watching this movie in its entirety on its own. They try to be overly clever. No, this is my fantasy. No, it's actually my fantasy. And as each guest claims that this entire fantasy is their own fantasy, they actually explain to the audience why they did what they did, what possessed them to do what they did, why they're here, what they're planning on doing. They explain everything step by. It's almost like a Scooby-Doo moment where someone admits they're the bad guy, instead of taking them down, they just look at them, and while the bad guy or bad lady or the bad person, the villain, explains what their intention is and what brought them to do it, it's just so unrealistic and so stupid. They think that the audience, they think that we are absolute morons. And then they try and twist it in another way and then another way. They just try and be so overly clever. It doesn't work. It's the worst writing I've seen in quite a long time. And the dialogue is absolutely horrible. If you know the villain is standing in front of you and they have a grenade and they're about to let it go, would you listen to their story? Would you listen to them for 5 whole minutes about why they're here and what their intentions were and what brought them to do what they're doing right now? Well, guess what? It happens on more than one occasion in this movie every time there's a twist. I really wanted to give this movie a 0, but I can't be that harsh. It starts off okay. There's 5 or 10 minutes in the beginning that are quite enjoyable where you don't know where the movie is going to go. This is not a horror movie. I don't know why people call this a horror. It is not horror at all. It is a PG-rated piece of beep. And that's why this movie gets my very first 1 out of 13. This is absolutely horrible. I've never seen a movie with quite a large budget, I'm assuming, the way that it's shot. It's shot nice, so it gets a 1 for that. The first 5 minutes are okay, so it gets a 1 for that. You do not give a shit about any character in this movie. There's a lot of miscasts. Nobody's really that convincing, to be honest with you, in this film at all. It's almost like it was put together just for the sake of putting something together with a bunch of people. The trailer looked interesting, but believe me when I say this movie is absolutely a stinker. Do not watch it. Watch something else. Anything else. The Lost Boys. Watch the best movie in the world, The Lost Boys. Go watch that. But if you feel the need to have to see this for whatever reason, even if it's just to see how bad it is, because it is laughable how bad it is, then you can definitely watch it in the background with some strong alcoholic beverages. Until next time, your creepy uncle is out of here.